Welcome to Intentionality with Dominique, the show that helps business owners become valued and in-demand suppliers in the marketplace to scale their businesses. Let's start today's show with host and intentional connector, Dominique Simpson-Milton.
Welcome to another episode of Intentionality, the show dedicated to improving the success rate of entrepreneurs and their businesses by sharing the strategies and tactics of successful suppliers. I am your host, Dominique Simpson-Milton. Today's show is being brought to you by CVMSDC, also known as the Council. Have you ever thought about leaving your day job for your dream job? Wondering at what time you should cut the cord and launch out on your own to follow your passion? Our guest today, Sameka Jenkins, followed her dreams and built a successful catering company, Carolima's, in historic Charleston, South Carolina. I personally watched her grow from part-time to full-time, from small jobs to mega jobs. Sameka, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, it's indeed a pleasure. Sameka, tell me, how did you learn how to cook? Where did your skills come from? Are you formally trained or is it self-taught?
Definitely self-taught. Basically taught myself by watching my mom and my grand aunt and other family members prepare authentic Bella dishes as I was growing up.
Interesting. And how did you come up with the name Carolima's? I love that name. I don't think I've ever told you, but I love that name.
So I came up with the name. I was actually sitting on a nonprofit board, and one of the board members is very crafty, and I told her that I was looking for a name for a new business that I was interested in starting, catering, of course. And I told her, I want something catchy, but I don't want it to have my personal name in it. I wanted to scream Lowcountry. I wanted to scream Southern. And lo and behold, she said she'd been holding on to 3. And I'm like, of course you have. And she gave me the 3 names. And when she said Carolima's, I said, that's it. That's the one I want. And she said, you can have it.
It's perfect because it's South Carolina and it's lima beans, right? Is that what
Yes,
it's meant?
exactly.
I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. So how did you start the business? How did you decide to cut the cord in corporate America and start this business?
So my sister and I and a few friends, we had always done small catering events for friends and, family because we all cook very well. And I was in corporate America. I was in commercial banking at the time, working for a small bank, and it had been bought out by a mega bank. And the minute the mega bank came in, I just knew I didn't fit into their corporate culture. So I decided to take the leap and do something on my own. And honestly, it was because I figured I was pretty good at it and I didn't want to go back to school and earn yet a 3rd degree. So I said, I'm going to try my hand at catering and see how that goes, because I felt like Charleston was missing a very professional Black-owned company.
So did you create a business plan to get you going?
Yeah, like a one-pager.
One-page business plan. Well,
Like a one-pager, just kind of putting it on paper of what it was exactly I wanted to do at the time, because, it's one of those things where people like, you jump and you just develop your wings on the way down. And that's what I did.
But did you have a financial plan included in that one page, or did you take out a loan to start the business?
No. We started out very, very small. We're very fortunate to live in an area where they have commissary kitchens. So, and then initially I found someone who was willing to share their space with me. And so I worked there, but within the year I had located a commissary kitchen, which means it's more like a shared kitchen for people in the food and beverage industry, particularly those starting out like myself. And so I signed up to be a part of the commissary kitchen, and I worked out at commissary kitchens for years.
So it's really a grassroots business. And then you had to find a commercial kitchen, which you're saying is a commissary kitchen, to be able to cook in that kitchen and to be able to serve your clients. But you went grassroots. Page business plan, but you had the skills to get you going. So let's talk about the peaks and the valleys, because people say, I'm going to start this business, and they don't understand that there's going to be days where you're trying just to pay payroll, right? And you're just trying to figure out the pricing of your services. Talk to me about the peaks, the valleys, and then we'll talk about the peaks.
Okay. I mean, it's just like you said, the peaks are there. But in the beginning, there are definitely more valleys than peaks. And so getting the pricing correct is a big deal, especially in food and beverage. Definitely recipes. I knew from the onset, because of my business background, I knew that we wanted to be consistent. I knew that I needed a differentiator from everybody else. I knew that I needed to serve. Those are the top three things that I knew were going to separate us from everyone else. People don't think about things like the insurance, the workman's comp, general liability insurance. It's just like, oh, I cook very well, so I'm going to open a company and just feed people. Like, that is the easy part. The hard part is the actual administrative part of it, the part that most people don't want to do. You talk about valleys. There are times when we haven't talked about this yet, but I actually had a restaurant for about a year and a half. And during that time, with having that restaurant, I remember distinctly my mom coming in one day, and I would set up all of my work on this back table in the restaurant. So I'm literally frying chicken, and when I'm not frying chicken, I'm trying to do the taxes, and I'm doing the payroll and everything else. I had all this mail open, and my mom came in one day, and she had a seat at that table while I was serving a few customers. And I just got so busy that I really didn't get a chance to speak with her. But she decided to sit for a while. And as she was sitting there, she went through my mail, my paperwork and everything. And she saw what I was doing. And when she left, she just stopped at the counter and she handed me a check for like $2,000 because she's like, I don't know how you sleep at night. She said, I saw all those bills. She said, I don't have much, but here's something to help. And so people don't see that, they don't see that part of it, where there were days where the light bill was due and it was this astronomical amount because it was summer, and I'm literally meeting the light company at the back door, paying them out of the register from the night before because we didn't have enough money to cover even the utilities.
No, I get that. I was a restaurant owner, and your employees think that you're rich. They don't realize that you're robbing Peter to pay Paul to make sure they get a paycheck and make sure you have the food costs covered. They just think, okay, they own the restaurant and they're rich. So you said you owned a restaurant, and I always tell people brick and mortar is hard, right? Brick and mortar is really hard. So I see that you transitioned from the restaurant to strictly catering. Tell me about that transition.
At the time, it was either transition to catering or shut down altogether. And catering is how I started. It's always been the bread and butter. I had a dream of just having this restaurant, and it didn't go according to plan. And instead of just, quitting altogether, I said, let me go back to what I know. I'm most comfortable here. Really, the only way to lose with catering is not pricing correctly. And I decided to go basically a few suites down back to the kitchen that I had left in order to go back to catering. And ironically, when I went back to that kitchen, my friend that owned the kitchen saw where I shut down the restaurant, and she decided she didn't want to have the commissary kitchen anymore. So a few months after going back, she decided to sell the commissary. So now what do I do? And lo and behold, God just made it so that I was sharing my story with my daughter's piano teacher. And she said, I have my recitals at a school. And, the only time they use their cafeteria is for the kids at lunch. Maybe they would allow you to work out of that kitchen. And when I met with that school, it's a Christian school. When I met with them, they were kind enough to let me work out of their kitchen. And so that's how the business was able to sustain itself.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad you told that story, because a lot of people don't understand having a contingency plan. But most importantly in that story, people don't understand there's going to come a point where you feel like you want to go back to corporate America, or where you feel like you need to quit and maybe go part-time, right? And it's at that point where your business can either go up or it can go down, right? And if you take the road going back to work, then you have a plan B that really kind of derails you from, just becoming very successful. Would you say you had that moment?
Yes, and I mean, I still don't discount working both if that's what you feel like you need to do in order to make ends meet. Because for years, I mean, I have a lot of friends who are entrepreneurs. So I always say I'm a jack of all trades, master at none. So there were times where I have a friend who had a tax business. So when it was tax season, I would help out there a little bit if I was slow, or she had a bail bonding business, so I worked in the bail bonding office a few hours sometimes, whatever it was to keep me going. Thankfully, I'm at the point now where I don't have to do that anymore, but I never, shied away from working, to make ends meet.
Well, congratulations on getting to that point. So let's talk about the peaks. Tell us your favorite success story, your favorite client, or just a huge win for you.
I think our most recent huge win was actually with the 7th Episcopal District of the AME Church. We were contacted to create a menu and to service 1,500 guests for an outgoing bishop. And when we got the call, I could not believe it because, I strongly believe in social media. I believe in relationships, but this call came from someone who was not on social media at all. They just basically knew us from doing a very small event for them, and we did such a great job that she trusted us to do this event for 1,500 guests, and it was located in Florence, South Carolina. It wasn't even held here.
So that's important. So you built a relationship. You took a job that was a small job. Some people underestimate the value of taking a small project that turned into the largest project you've had. And then to do that project, you had to be able to scale up your team and then scale back down. So how did you scale the team?
Wow. So I called on all of my chef friends. I mean, we have a network of people, in food and bev, a lot of people. I called on my chef friends and everyone said yes. Everyone said yes. Everyone came to our aid, working with the 7th Episcopal District. They were very helpful. The Florence Civic Center was helpful because at the end of the day, aside from cooking food, the other, I guess, really great asset that I have is I'm very good at logistics and operations. So I can visually see how something's going to play out before it happens. And so logistically, Emma and I put our heads together and we decided, okay, this is what we're going to need. This is who we're going to need to call on. I called on my mentor to help me with quantities and serving sizes because, that's huge. You have 1,500 people. You don't want to run out, but you definitely don't want tons of food left over either. So it was a very fine line between how much food should we order, how much food should we prepare, how are we going to transport the food safely to the Florence Civic Center, and then how are we going to break down everything and come home. And logistically, we had everything down to a T. Everything went pretty much according to plan. What didn't go according to plan wasn't noticed by the client at all. Everyone came through and they just showed up and showed out.
That is outstanding. I saw that on social media. So kudos to you for getting that huge job done and then shouting it out. So now people know that you can do a project from a small project and you have unlimited capacity by calling in your network. And so talk to us about your journey with CVMSDC. You've been a CVMSDC certified MBE for a year. Took a long time to get you here, but you followed suit. So you've been with us for a year. Tell me about your journey and what you've learned.
Listen, I mean, I think it goes back to building relationships. I've known you for years. You've always been an advocate for CVMSDC. And for us, the timing just was never right. I was working so hard in my business. I knew I didn't have the time to work on my business. However, I'm so grateful that you never gave up on us and you strongly encouraged us to join. And since we have joined, we've made great connections at the few meetings that we have attended. And I look forward to the growth that we're going to have with CVMSDC.
So we're so glad to have you at the table. And folks, one of the huge successes that we haven't talked about today, but at the South Carolina Aquarium, we had one caterer on record. And now Carolina is the second caterer on record. So, It used to be that when you booked an event there, you had to go with that one caterer. And we fought behind the scenes to make sure that we had some diversity and inclusion behind the scenes. And so now you can choose Carolima's or you can choose another caterer to do your event at the aquarium. So you've done a phenomenal job there. When you show up, Sameka, you bring your A game and you make us proud.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. And it's a prime example of, I just saw a reel about it the other day. Like, people are over mentored and undercapitalized. You know, it's one thing to have all these mentors, but if people aren't actually getting you in the room or getting you a seat at the table, it means nothing. Business is what, generates capital. So if you don't have business, you can't stay in business. So I definitely appreciate the CVMSDC for helping us to forge that relationship with the aquarium. And now we are one of their premier vendors on the list, and they send us a ton of business.
Well, that's what it's all about, folks. That's what we do here at CVMSDC. We make sure the doors of opportunity are open, that the playing field is leveled, and that the wealth gap starts to get closed so that there's opportunity out there for companies like Sameka's. So one thing I want you to share, because some people don't know what a Charleston Chewy is. Tell our viewers what a Charleston Chewy is and the fact that they can get some from you. So tell them about that secret recipe that you have.
Yeah, so a Charleston Chewy is like a blondie. It's made with brown sugar, butter, pecans. It is the number one dessert on our menu. Everyone loves it. We serve it at most of our events. We ship them nationwide. We've actually shipped them as far as Bahrain. They are a pleasure to eat. So if you ever are in the market for something that is very authentic to Charleston, South Carolina, definitely visit our website at carolimas.com and place an order for our chewies, because we ship nationwide, worldwide, and we have local pickup.
Okay, outstanding. Well, thank you so much. And the last question I will ask you is, you're in business, your sister's in business with you. How does that work? Do you all separate your duties to make sure that the events come together? Does she do one thing and you do another? Well, how does that work?
We definitely separate duties. The good thing about my sister, though, is she's like a double threat, because she cooks and bakes. I only cook. I can do bars, but I can't do specialty cakes. She makes custom cakes and wedding cakes. She does all of that. But thankfully, she cooks as well. And she is our social media manager. Like, she posts all of our social media. She's the reason we get paid for our Facebook and Instagram posts, because I wouldn't know where to start. But she does a really good job with the reels and posts and just really keeping us relevant and growing that social media audience.
Well, that's outstanding. It has been a pleasure to have you here. It's been just my joy to watch your company grow. I've tried the cakes. I've utilized you for catering for some major events that we've had, and it's always been phenomenal. So thank you, Sameka, for being here and for being part of the CVMSDC family. Folks, if you are interested in more information, please visit carolimas.com. Well, that concludes today's episode of Intentionality. Be sure to join me for our next episode, and remember that you must always remain intentional to gain knowledge, skills, and connections so we can grow and thrive in business together. I'm Dominique Simpson-Milton, and I will see you next time.
This has been another episode of Intentionality with Dominique, brought to you by the CVMSDC. For more information, please visit cvmsdc.org.